Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
Alex.
As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please join our community by subscribing to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms is at N2E Fantasy. We're also available on all major podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
On this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, we are covering the latest team news around the league, as well as we will be going through the current free agent crop that's still out there, the best available, try to figure out where their best fits are, and any rumors or any kind of insight that we've heard. But first, let's dive into our league news. Jeff, you want to talk about the sad news first?
Yeah, the Colts owner, Jim Irsay, has passed away at the age of 65. I believe he has left his daughter in charge of the Colts, but he passed away the same day as the owners meeting. Kind of weird and strange, but he seems like a beloved owner, at least to all of his former players. I have not heard one negative thing about him in all of this. That's Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison Jr., Peyton Manning. Pretty much everybody, Pat McAfee, everyone has come out and heaped him with a lot of praise. Thoughts are with the Colts organization, and what a day to go out though with the owners meeting.
Yeah, that was kind of odd. I don't know if he was there or if he had a representative. I know he had health issues in the past and wasn't doing so well of late, but it seems like the Colts are on the cusp of relevance again. Like they just hover around the cusp of making the playoffs and being relevant. They're in a better position than they were a few years ago, but they still need potentially a quarterback to lead this team.
Absolutely. They're still always a quarterback away. It feels like they've been unlucky since Peyton Manning walked out the door. Almost a decade or more now. Probably a little bit more.
But they've been unlucky ever since Andrew retired, is what I would say.
Yeah, he just never took off. I mean, he was going to, but then he retired. So
Well, that was a time where they were missing every time that they took a draft pick, that guy busted other than Andrew Luck. And they never supported him, gave him good talent around him, and he kept getting beat up, so he's out. Now they have everything but the quarterback, it feels like.
Yep. They tried to take swings at veteran quarterbacks like Matt Ryan and Philip Rivers, and it feels like they had like a long list of veterans on the way out the door. We'll see if they get it right. I wouldn't hold my breath on Anthony Richardson at this point, but we'll see in the future.
Yep. We'll see if anything changes under the daughter taking over. But next, Jeff, you're very disappointed that the tush push, the brotherly shove, survived yet again another year. They did not have the 24 votes required. They only had the 22. I know you think that they're going to find another way to get rid of it, but why don't you share your thoughts on why you want it gone and why you think this one failed?
I mean, I think the audience knows why I want it gone. It's not a very fun play for the audience to watch. NFL is a TV product first and foremost, but it looks like they fell 2 votes short, which that tells me at some point this will come back up because they're only 2 votes short to getting it passed. All it'll take is one minor injury and they'll revisit it. But I don't really like the iteration of the rule, and I think you can attest to me saying that prior to this vote that I did not like the fact that it was a penalty, and I felt like it was too punitive on the team doing it. I don't think it should have been a penalty. I think the play should have just been called dead. I think that it left too much judgment call in the hands of the referee. Like, if you said the person that the ball is snapped to, so essentially the quarterback, can't be pushed, that's very easily judged. Now, the rule that was submitted was the runner cannot be pushed or pulled, and that is a lot more subjective than what I had just said. And I don't want the referees that much more involved into the game, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
From my standpoint, I'm to the point where I fully think at this point it's a rule that's targeted at one specific team who didn't really do anything wrong. And I think it's important to note that I think everyone that plays the Eagles, other than the Lions, voted in favor of the tush push ban. The Lions, I think, are the only ones scheduled to play them this year in the regular season that voted to keep it. I believe 7 or 8 of the teams that voted against the ban are in the AFC. The Eagles' entire division voted to ban it. What's really funny to me is the other team that's supposedly really good at it, but was against the tush push and in favor of this ban, the Bills, but their entire division voted against the ban, which I find interesting. So I think it's pretty clear that teams were targeting the Eagles, and I think that's kind of foolish and kind of cowardly. And I'm upset at my own local Texans for publicly saying defenses should just stop it, and privately the owner goes and votes to ban it. So I'm kind of ticked at them for it. The only rationale that I have to be against the tush push is the defense is not allowed to push players. So if you're trying to make an argument to be fair both ways, you either have to have everyone be allowed to push, or say since the defense can't push, the offense can't push a player either. That's the only way to phrase it that makes sense to me. That's not what they did.
No, but I will rebut the fact that it's targeting one team, the fact that an ownerless team put it up and it was sponsored by the commissioner, which the commissioner wouldn't push to have it on any one team. The commissioner answers to two parties, the owners and the TV partners. And since the ownerless team put it up, I would think that it would have been the TV partners that asked for this.
Maybe, but it definitely is. Whether it is intentionally targeted at the Eagles, it is effectually targeted at the Eagles. So it makes really no difference there. However, it is weird that it's all the teams that are facing them, other than the Lions, who I completely understand why Dan Campbell would just be Dan Campbell would embrace it rather than go against it. Everyone else voted to ban the tush push.
Well, Dan Campbell wasn't the one voting. It's the owner, not the coach. And in your position, I think it was
You
your coaches saying that they need to find a way to stop it.
you
Doesn't mean the
you
owner
don't
feels the same way.
I think the owners fully embraced Dan Campbell and his mentality.
Right, but I was giving you the rebut on the Texans of how a coach might come out and say that you need to stop it, and the owner might vote a different way because the owner doesn't agree with the coach, and it's his team, and he's the one that gets the vote.
Either way, they're all reflections of the team. So when a coach comes out, when a GM comes out and says one thing and the owner does a different thing, either there's no unity in the organization,
And that might be
or
possible.
they're lying publicly. But
Yeah. None of the
it's
owners came
I
out and voted opposite of which way they said they were going to vote. And I think the owners look at it like they're going to be around in 20 years, but that coach probably won't be. So they're going to run their franchises how they want to.
a lot of these owners are elderly, so they're gonna be gone in 20 years.
Maybe. The Texans owner?
He's the son of the previous owner, and he's already early 60s. Cal McNair.
Yeah. He is 63.
Yep. I think technically his mom is nominally in charge, but Cal does actually all the football operations.
Yeah. And maybe that's a first sign of a fracture between coach and ownership.
I don't know, because I went back and watched and listened to what the coach said and what the GM said, and it's very weasel wordy
Yeah.
going back and looking at it in hindsight.
Yeah. Or maybe they just didn't even care enough about the play to fight the coach. Because it really is very minuscule.
All right. Well, anyway, we have other rule change that looks like it did pass, Jeff, the kickoff rule. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
So this also happened with the owners meeting. I know there's a lot of owners meeting talk today, but the kickoff now, a trailing team can do an onside kick at any point in the game. And the ball will be spotted at the 34 instead of the 35, creating a more advantageous chance of recovery. I'm not really sure how that creates a more advantageous recovery, but Alex, do you have any insight on that? How that would create a? I just feel like they're
I don't.
trying anything at this point to make the onside kick relevant again.
Well, what they should have done is gotten rid of that stupid rule change that they did last year where they had to announce if they're doing an onside kick. That took all the excitement out of it. The whole thing is a surprise onside kick. Like, that is what you want. That's the only way it's going to be effective. If the team knows it's coming, they're going to be prepared for it, and you will never see a successful onside kick.
I think there was like less than 10 onside kicks recovered all of last year. And you could only do it in the fourth quarter last year. So.
Yeah, you could only do it in the fourth quarter, and you had to announce it. So, what point is there to actually do an onside kick?
Yeah, and you have to announce it here too, because obviously the yard line changes.
Yeah, so I don't like that rule at all. I think it's dumb, and
Do you think they
I
ever
think
go
it
to
took
like the 4th and 15 or whatever play?
maybe, but again, there's no excitement. There's less excitement, I should say, because there will
I was
be
gonna
some
say there's
excitement
still
with that.
excitement.
There, it doesn't have the level of excitement of a surprise onside kick.
That's fair.
And so they just took one of the most exciting plays and completely got rid of it. And then they tried to tweak it, which their tweak doesn't make a difference at all.
Right.
So I don't like it.
We'll see after 1 year. This is like anything though, I expect this to be a 1 year trial and then they vote next year to whether they keep it or not. So I know the dynamic
Anyway,
kickoff is here to stay.
so the next item here, there was a various different various different viewpoints on playoff reseeding, and none of it passed. So
Got pulled.
they decided to table it until the league regular season expands to 18 games, which won't be for a few years. So it doesn't make sense to fully reseed based off of record, but what would make sense, in my opinion, is if there's a team that won their division with a losing record, to not allow them a home game because they wouldn't have deserved it. So I can understand that aspect, but not to fully reseed
Yeah, I just
otherwise.
feel like each division is its own ecosystem, is kind of how I describe it. And what
Hmm.
happens with the Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos might not be the same as the Texans, Colts, Jaguars, and Titans. So you might get a team that or two that run away in the AFC South, but in the AFC West, it's a all out fight to even get into the playoffs. Like you're punishing the better divisions, in my opinion, and you're kind of rewarding the worst divisions. As long as you could be the second best team out of a worse division, you could have two teams in a division with 2 wins, and you just beat up on those two teams. Have an easy schedule, and just because of that, you get a home game.
Yeah, but on the other side, the divisions that are really tough that beat up on each other are capable of winning road games against teams that had a soft schedule. So that's why you see wild card teams that make it really far into the playoffs. Like the Washington Commanders made it really far and they didn't win their division.
Yeah, I think they're legitimately like a good team, but I think to your point though, I think we need to have some parameters around it. I think there could be a parameter if you win 14 or 15 games, you automatically get a home game. Like the Vikings last year. So, I mean, the Vikings probably deserved a home game last year. I think they went 15-2 or 14-3 and they
That sucks
lost the
to be in the
division.
same division with yeah.
Yeah. But I think they legitimately earned. Like I thought they were a good team. Yeah. I think there has to be parameters. There has to be a losing team and a team that with over like 13 wins, we'll say, is like a
Yeah,
caveat.
I think that's something to consider
Caveat.
for sure.
Yeah. All right. Last news item: Ty Davis Price signs a 2-year deal with the Tennessee Titans. He'll presumably be the third back going into this year and next year. What's your thoughts on Ty Davis Price?
It doesn't do anything for me.
Doesn't move the needle?
Nope.
I hear ya. Well, is there anyone left in free agency, Alex, that moves the needle for you? I think we can go over the quarterback position first. We'll go worst first here. I'll save the best for last. Let's go with Desmond Ritter. Do you see any fits for Desmond Ritter, or is it time for him to hang up?
I mean, he can be someone's practice squad quarterback. That's pretty much as far as I'd go with him. But I don't see him being a starting quarterback in the league. I don't even know if I see him being primary backup in the league.
Yeah, I really don't see him going anywhere. And I can't believe that he hasn't even gotten like a backup job. Funny enough, his former Falcons may need a backup if they do trade Kirk Cousins away. But he's 25 years old. He'll be 26 before the season starts. He did have a really good second half with the Raiders last year, but the first half that he played was pretty bad. So I don't know how he flipped a switch in the second half or if the defense just played more vanilla, but that's kind of what happened there. Then we have Mr. Carson Wentz as a free agent. Alex, what are your thoughts on Carson Wentz, and where would you like him to sign? Presumably as a backup.
You just won't let this guy go. You're like he's
32.
he's still a star in the making. He's
He's
still a
younger than
star in
you.
the making. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with him.
Do you want to know where the
I think
rumor is that he could be going?
no, I
Rumor
don't
is
want to
that
know.
the Saints could be looking at him.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Why? Got a couple rookies,
They have
no veteran present.
they have Rattler, who I still think has potential, and I don't think he got a fair shot because they had literally nothing to work with by the time he was out there playing. Both of their wide receivers were hurt. Kamara, I think, was not himself at that point or out by that point. So I don't think he got a fair shake. And then they spent the 40th overall pick, so like a high second round pick on a 25-year-old quarterback. Makes no sense to go with Wentz in this case. I think the best place for Wentz might be somewhere like Detroit or Chicago, where he can be the number one backup behind either Jared Goff and be insurance for him, or be a veteran presence behind Caleb Williams.
For sure. What if Kirk Cousins is traded from the Falcons and he goes and backs up Michael Penix?
I don't know. I can't see him with the Falcons. I could see Joe Flacco with the Falcons more than I could see Carson Wentz.
How can you not see Carson Wentz there? He's got red in his beard and red in the jersey. It all goes together. All red. Everything.
I think Joe Flacco is a better quarterback at like 42 than Wentz is at 32. And I think the Browns are going to try to roll with the three younger guys, and they could potentially get something for Flacco, even if it's like a seventh round pick.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all know what Pickett is. I don't think Pickett's long for the organization. But I've heard rumors back and forth that Flacco and Pickett are the leaders in the clubhouse, and then you see Shador Sanders put up the numbers that he did in practice, and just going to be all sorts of questions there. But speaking of questions, the Pittsburgh Steelers are opening up camp with no quarterback other than Mason Rudolph taking snaps. Do you believe that Aaron Rodgers could potentially end up there, and what timeline do you think that could be in?
Don't they also have the Ohio State quarterback they just selected as well?
Yeah, Howard.
Yeah, I think he, I think he has a better chance of being competitive long term than Mason Rudolph, but he kind of reminds me of Ben Roethlisberger extra light, in my opinion. And it's funny because Roethlisberger played at Miami of Ohio, and Howard played at Ohio State. Potentially,
Ohio of Ohio.
he could, yeah, Ohio State of Ohio. He could potentially be the next quarterback. I think Aaron Rodgers should probably retire and then unretire if a quarterback spot opens up somewhere else. I
Yeah,
think
he's got
he
his hopes up on the Vikings, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the Vikings are his preferred spot. If I was Rodgers, I wouldn't want to go to the Steelers. I despise Art Smith, not as a person, but as a football coach. And I think he does too many jet sweeps and motions, and Aaron Rodgers hates those. And they only have one proven wide receiver right now. They subtracted on that team, and they're in talks of getting a third tight end, which makes no sense. They're back in on Jonnu Smith. I wouldn't want to go there. They're a dysfunctional team. They're the only team with a active opening. So if he wants to play now, then that's the only team available. But I would probably retire and just wait to see maybe Miami will open up because maybe Tua goes back down again. Can you imagine Zach Wilson losing out again because Aaron Rodgers goes to his next team? And I would rather play at South Beach than I would in Pittsburgh, unfortunately.
I hear that. So we will see what happens at the quarterback decisions. Not much left there. And we'll hop over to the running backs. And again, we'll go what I perceive as the worst to first. Do you see Gus Edwards getting a spot, or do you think his career is winding down in the NFL?
I think he'll eventually get a camp invite, and whether or not he makes the roster depends on how poor the roster is that he goes to. I think he's worth a roster spot, even if he's like a running back four for a team.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. I mean, there's teams out there that could use depth at running back, but I think you could have to wait a little bit to actually find a team that wants to bring him on. But there's teams like the Falcons that have two viable running backs and nothing else behind them. And you also have the Chicago with Swift and Roshan, which I don't believe that they're done at this point. Like that doesn't feel right to me, but I guess it doesn't really matter. And then you also have teams like Seattle that have just Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet and really not a ton behind them. So a couple teams that could be looking for a running back. What about his lifelong partner, it feels like, between Baltimore and the Chargers? Do you believe a team signs J.K. Dobbins, or do you believe that he reverts back to the Chargers based on that tender that we had heard about?
I think he is going to go back to the Chargers, is my guess.
Okay.
Or maybe there's a certain period they withdraw the tender and he might sign with like the Ravens or someone.
Yeah. Ravens are kind of stacked right now. He'd have to be a fourth back behind Kenneth Mitchell and Justice Hill and Derrick Henry. Keaton
Keaton
Mitchell, sorry.
Mitchell?
Yeah. I don't know why I said Kenneth, because I had Kenneth Walker on the brain there. But yeah, I don't know where he goes. I mean, it would be interesting if they paired him and Nick Chubb up in Chicago. It would be an interesting tandem, but doesn't seem like there's any urgency to get these running back deals done just yet. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, they're all veterans, so they might want to wait out camp a little bit longer. But this was also a very deep running back class, so teams might feel that they're already good with the backs that they selected or got as unrestricted free agents.
Yeah, for sure. I guess we just might as well keep going up the list here, and we got Amir Abdullah, but he seems like he may have had a foot injury that ended last year. So I'm wondering if that's what's delaying his signing, but he had a pretty good year last year. He's a good to great receiving back, in my opinion. Not someone that can take a ton of snaps, but someone that could take the pressure off of a young quarterback that could use a receiving option. And again, I mean, what if they paired Abdullah up with another running back in Chicago and they cut Swift? Because I know you and I aren't the biggest fans of Swift. Who knows there? But yeah, it looks like he's coming off of a foot injury, but he finished RB40 last year. Any other spots you could see Amir Abdullah end up? Since it probably won't be the Raiders.
He could end up back with Detroit again, honestly.
Okay. as like a third back, like
Yeah.
some insurance for Gibbs, basically.
Yep. And he played a lot of special teams prior too, so I
Yeah.
could see him doing that as well.
He is older though now, and I think he's almost 30. He's in his 30s right now. He's 31. He'll be 32 before the season starts. So I don't know how much special teams a 32-year-old wants to play.
If
And
it
we'll
gets
see
you
if
a
he gets
paycheck.
we'll see if it gets him a role anywhere. One of my favorites, and he has not landed anywhere yet, is Cam Akers. Where do you anticipate Cam Akers ending up? He has to end up somewhere, right?
Unsigned.
Forever?
I mean, maybe someone brings him into camp, but I can't imagine he makes an active roster somewhere.
You said that last year, and he made 2 active
Yeah,
rosters.
yeah. The Texans decided they didn't want him, so they traded him, and the Vikings sparsely used him and then let him go in free agency without bringing him back or giving him any kind of offer.
What do you mean they sparsely used him? They paired him up with Jones, and they were basically close to a 50-50 split down the stretch.
I don't know about that.
And they brought him back too because he was a Viking prior to signing with the Texans. So it was his second stint with them. So they wanted him.
I think they had injuries to other guys, and they just wanted someone who already knew the playbook.
But the guy just turns 26 in a couple of weeks. He's very young.
It doesn't matter. He had an Achilles injury, and he's not the same runner, too.
He had 2 Achilles injuries, the same one.
Yeah, nobody wants to deal with that.
I can't believe he was able to run as well as he did last year, coming back from 2 Achilles. He might be the best poster child for that, other than Deontay Foreman, who took maybe 4 years to fully come back. But he had a whole second act on his career because he kept with it. But I don't hear anything on him at all right now. So we'll see what happens there. But the Vikings don't seem that they need a running back now that they traded for Jordan Mason. So we are going down that path. And then lastly, I will take the beginning part of this one. We have Nick Chubb, who does not seem like he's going to be going back to the Cleveland Browns. My dream spot for him still is the Chicago Bears. It fits so well. It's a running back that they don't have, and it may get Ben Johnson his Montgomery, which is one of your favorite things to point out, that he looks for his type of player.
They really seem to like Roshan, so I thought Chubb would be good there too, but maybe it's finally Roshan time in Chicago. We just aren't aware of it.
Did he call and tell you that?
Yes, he did.
I have not heard anything on that yet, so we will see here. There's a lot of rumors out there right now, though, to the Bears. So we'll see. I see Commanders as listed as a potential spot for him.
Yeah, that could be good.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool, but we will see. I think he's got something left in the tank, and we'll see how much, though. All right. We got some big guns at wide receiver, Alex. And the first one is a recently cut guy, and that is Gabriel Davis. But it does seem like he's going on a little bit of a tour. Today was Pittsburgh Day. You think he signs with the Steelers or somebody else?
I think the best spot for him in his career is going to either the Giants with Dable or back to the Bills. I think anywhere else, his career's over.
So I was talking to my Buffalo Bills friends over the weekend, and they're stacked at wide receiver right now. I don't even see a spot for him. So he'd just be another guy in that room.
Yeah, I can't see him beating out Moore. I can't see him beating out Coleman because they need Coleman to work, or Shakir. So I'm just trying to remember who else on their team right now. They have Curtis Samuel. Might be able to beat Curtis Samuel out. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who else do they have on their team?
So
You know?
in order, they have Shakir, they have Coleman, they have Josh Palmer, they
Yeah, Josh Palmer.
Yep, they have Elijah Moore, they have Curtis Samuel. So I'm 5 deep already. They have Caden Prather. I think that's how you say his last name.
That's the 7th round rookie.
Yep. They have Laviska Shenault, who I believe is signed for a special teams purpose to be a returner of some sort. They have KJ Hamler still, so that's 8 deep.
I don't like Gabriel Davis as a player, so I wouldn't take him over any of those guys.
Yeah.
I
Did you
think
know
I think he could go to the Giants, and that would be the best available fit. But it seems like that meeting didn't go over well.
or they didn't offer him the
But
spot that he wanted? Because anyone could sign him for the veteran minimum because Jacksonville is picking up his tab
yeah,
this year. Texans, there you go.
nope, we've got plenty of wide receivers now.
So Elijah Moore was drafted in the second round by the Jets, and now he's a Bill. He's
Hmm
25. KJ Hamler, also 25, was drafted, I believe, in the second round by the
Broncos.
Broncos. So they have a lot of retreads that are playing with the best quarterbacks in their career. So, and Hamler only got cut because of his heart condition. It was not even talent related. The Broncos just didn't even
Hmm
want to play him. So, great. Let's hop over to the next wide receiver here. I could see, and I'll wrap up Gabe Davis real quick because I did have one more thought. I could see the Steelers being a really good fit for him because they don't really have a number 2 or number 3 wide receiver, but that does push down the stock
They
of
don't
Roman Wilson.
they don't have a proven number two or definitive number two. They did sign retread Robert Woods. They do have Calvin Austin. They do have Roman Wilson. So one of the two young guys could emerge as a number two. Gabriel Davis could obviously fill some role there. I just think fantasy wise, that would probably be abysmal for him. And probably be the beginning of the end of his career if he went to Pittsburgh.
Maybe. Absolutely. All right. What about Tyler Boyd? He is one of your favorite third receivers. What do you think about Tyler Boyd? And just so you know, he is coming off of a foot injury as well.
He might be a guy that has to wait for an injury from someone else to be able to sign somewhere, or he could go back for the veteran minimum to the Bengals, because I think he would almost immediately be the wide receiver 3 or 4 on the Bengals.
Oh,
But yeah, I can only see him being maybe a wide receiver 3 or 4 for a team.
what about the Falcons, who have London and Mooney and not much else?
They seem to be done at the position for some reason.
Well, I'm gonna quit. If they're done, I'm done.
Hmm
What about with like the Rams where they only have Nakua, Adams, and Atwell? Really,
Mm, I mean, maybe. I mean, anyone that needs a fourth wide receiver, I think Boyd would be great for them.
I mean, you have Jacksonville who has Thomas Hunter and Dwami Brown, and we don't know how much that Hunter's gonna play offense. So I know you like your Parker Washingtons of the world, but it seems like they could use a veteran present, a guy that can catch in the middle of the field, especially after getting rid of Evan Ingram.
I mean, you can say the same thing for Amari Cooper, who's another guy out there as well. But I think Amari Cooper looked awfully slow this past season. Looks like either he is out of gas or he had nagging injuries all year. I don't know, but I'm surprised with the crickets on him.
Yeah, we will see.
Do
Great.
you have anywhere you think Amari Cooper could go?
I think he should go home and retire because I think that he is out of gas. If he couldn't get it together for Josh Allen for a playoff run, I don't know where he's going to get it together.
All right, what about Keenan Allen? He's still out there.
I mean, who knows where he's going to go? Like, he would make sense for Pittsburgh, like instead of Robert Woods. But it does seem like he wants to play with a warm weather team. So could he be the third receiver for the Rams behind Adams and Nakua? And you leave Atwell as your situational deep threat. I really don't know because I'm not sold completely on the Browns wide receiver situation with Judy and Deontay Johnson, and Tillman and Thrash and Bell, but I really can't see a veteran being like, let me go play one more year in Cleveland with two rookies, Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, and just hope for the best.
I mean, Amari Cooper might go back there, maybe,
Yeah.
but Keenan Allen, there's no way Keenan Allen will go to Cleveland.
I'm honestly surprised, though, that no one is making offers, especially the Atlanta Falcons, for any of these players, because I don't buy into any of the Falcons' pieces.
Well, obviously, it means that their tight end Pitts is going to have a huge year.
Who's not even on the field right now?
He's
'Cause
resting up for the amount of targets he's going to have the rest of the year.
he's already dealing with a foot injury, as is Stroud already dealing with a shoulder injury. That's not good. Pearsall's dealing with a hamstring. Definitely not the way that you want to begin the year, though, for any of those players. Not the end of the world. Hopefully, they get fully healthy before training camp, but we all know that you can tweak and retweak injuries. All right. Last position is our tight end position. And I know that you are not big fans of either of these, but just Hayden Hurst and Gerald Everett are left. Do you see any spots for them, or do you think it's just time for them to go home and rest?
They could be teams maybe tight end 2 or tight end 3, but I think it's about the end. The end is approaching for these two.
Yeah, I don't really have teams that with a tight end need, but we'll see if that crops up. And obviously, Donald Parham going down does open up other positions. All right.
All right. Well, I think that does it for this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for downloading or listening to this episode. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave us a comment and share the show. Every little bit helps.
You can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy and with our handle at N2E Fantasy on all social media platforms. Please join our community and give us a follow. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Hi, everybody.